We may just do that. Yeah. Okay. We're ready to go there, are we? Very good, Ashley. We'll call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody this morning and anybody or anyone that is joining us online for the West Grade budget meeting. And second order of business, I'll ask if there's any declaration of pecuniary interest from any one of the council members. No? All right. And as may be noted, yes, Councillor Townsend won't be declaring. He has a conflict for today. So Doug is off on other duties and leaving the responsibility to us. We'll remind him of that at some point in time. But it does happen. Yeah, we're in a little bit of a different timeline, if I could, with the budget. It's not just the timeline, it's the legislation that come down from the province that says that it's the mayor's budget. I will have to say it is a large collaboration, mostly with our Director of Finance, Ms. Mighton, has helped us through this. And it's not draconian by any stretch of the imagination. I, on a personal basis, would like to say thank you for Carrie for putting up with us and trying to negotiate our way through how the new legislation is working. With that said, the first thing we have is a report from the finance treasurer, Carrie. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. So the budget that we're presenting for the mayor's budget is 3.7% increase, just under 1% on the operating side and about 2.78% on the capital side. It is $602,000 tax levy increase, excluding any growth. The operating highlights, mostly the pressures there. We've incorporated a 2% wage increase for COLA on the grid, along with any step movement, and that's based on September CPI for Ontario. We've incorporated estimated insurance and contractual increases based on those CPI adjustments. And we've also resourced a couple of master plans, recreation master plan we're planning to do with internal staff resources, and the fire master plan will be with, we're planning with external consultants. I don't know if we want to do the first, the motion to review and the report and approve the cost of living adjustment to the wage grid and get that out of the way as an acceptance. Then everything else is just amending the mayor's budget, should you wish to do that.
I think that probably is our best lead in, Carrie. Thank you very much. So there is 2 recommendations in Carrie's report. We'll deal with those before we go any further down into any of the lines or divisions as they are. So let's split them. Split down. It's a good question. Yeah, let's do it that way. Yeah. Deputy Mayor, we'll do it 2 different recommendations. I think if that's okay. Jamie? Do 1. So the first one is to receive the report for review and comment. Deputy Mayor. Tom wants to move that. Councillor Hutchison. Doug will second it. Any questions or comments on that? Jeff. Councillor Shea.
Do you think we could, as part of receiving this, just get an outline of the schedule that we're on? We're on a legislatively assigned timeline, I believe. I wouldn't mind knowing what that is in detail.
Yep. Very good. And I believe that's this guy, Legislative Services. Jamie.
Thank you, and through Mayor Eccles, I see that my colleagues are quite pleased by this. So I have prepared a timeline for council's review. So under the Strong Mayor budget timelines, the review period and the budget adoption process has changed slightly. So the initial part of the new Strong Mayor budget process starts with a 30-day review period. So on October 24th, 2025, the Strong Mayor budget was released to council and to the public, officially commencing the 30-day review period whereby council can make amendments. This period ends on November 23rd, 2025, after which council cannot make any other motions to amend the mayor's budget. Should council successfully pass a motion to amend the mayor's budget today, the mayor can, between November 24, 2025 and December 4, 2025, veto a council amendment to the mayor's budget. And I will note, so the 30-day review period runs from October 24 until November 23 of this year. Should council amend the budget, pass a motion to amend the budget, the mayor has a veto period that would run from November 24 to December 4, 2025, whereby the mayor can veto a council amendment to the mayor's budget. And I will note that this 10-day veto period that the mayor has can be shortened by the mayor at his sole discretion. Should the mayor veto a council amendment to the budget, there's a 15-day override period. So should the mayor veto a council amendment to the mayor's budget within the prescribed timeframe, council can override the mayoral veto between December 4, 2025 and December 19, 2025 by introducing an override motion. And I would like to note that a motion to override a veto is only successful if 2/3 of the whole of members are in favor of the override. And much like the mayor being able to shorten the 10-day veto period, council can pass a resolution within the year to shorten the 15-day override period for that particular year. So I've got a bit of a rough timeline here as well with respect to how this could play out should everything happen, or should one thing happen and not another. So if there's no amendments to the budget as presented, the budget would be deemed adopted on November 24, 2025. If there is an amendment to the mayor's budget with no veto, the budget would be deemed adopted on December 5, 2025. And if there's an amendment to the mayor's budget and there is a veto that's successful, the budget would be deemed adopted on December 20th, 2025.
Further? Go ahead.
So how many opportunities will we have between now and November 23rd to introduce amendments?
So through the mayor to council, there's this meeting today that council can make amendments at, and then we have another meeting scheduled for November 12th, I believe, for council to make any subsequent amendments that they would like to make. Outside of that, if council feels strongly that there needs to be further amendments to the budget, then council can call a special meeting at any time by petition to hold an additional budget meeting to make further amendments before November 23rd.
Okay. Anything else on this motion? Councillor Hutchison, go.
Just a technical question now that we're into the technicalities of all this. So what happens if council votes to override the mayor's veto in December? Does the mayor still have the ability to veto the override?
Through your miracles to council, no. So once a veto has been overridden, that's it. Much like you can only amend a motion twice and then you have to start again. This case is a little bit more strict in that if council is successful in overriding a mayoral veto, that stands and it becomes part of the budget. So there would be no additional opportunity for the mayor to veto that.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Second, coming out of the recommendations is because approving the 2% cost of living adjustment to our wage grid. And that, of course, would come into effect on January 1st. Councillor Noon, will move that. Okay, moved by Vice, Councillor Forrester. Thank you, Scott. We'll second that. Any comments on this? Jeff? Councillor Shay.
To the treasurer, is it customary to base it on the September consumer price index?
We've done different times over the years. Right now, that is the most recent CPI that's available. September is released about the third week in October. So we could choose August, October. We won't know until later in November, but that's what was available at this point.
Okay, anything else? Any other questions on that? Then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay, the budget is for a 3.7% tax levy increase. Do we take no, we're not taking a motion on that. Carrie? Do we want to, at this point, go through any suggestion that we want to go through division by division? Are there any questions on any of I think this is the best way to go. We've had the report, we've had the grand, the full budget overview here. Does council want to have any questions about any of the, well, let's start, I guess, just with the operating lines. Any of the that we've worked out. As noted, the operations were at, for simplicity, 1%. In keeping the lights on and the roads plowed. The fire trucks rolling and books being dispensed on a weekly basis. And the books being balanced on a daily basis. Thank you, Carrie. If there isn't any questions on that, I'm going to ask Carrie then to go down just on our capital, where we've included any of our capital. We do have the two chiefs, fire chief and police chief here. Noted from infrastructure and the building department planning. Carl's here. And library. So Carrie, I don't think the library has a whole lot of capital to be discussing other than a small roof repair. Carrie, take us through that then, just highlights of the capital.
Yep. In the admin, it's mostly transfers to reserves for IT and putting a bit of growth into the general capital reserve. On the fire, there's the usual safety gear and pumps and hoses, but of note is the commercial washer for the SCBA equipment, as well as the diesel exhaust removal system as well. We have in there a building condition assessment / design for the former police station, trying to look at what options might be available for use of that building when the police move into their new one. In the public works, we've got a plow truck and a 1-ton truck. We're also paying back the rest of the trackless It was purchased last year, but paid over 2. We're doing the design work in 2026 for a bridge in Bentic, and banking some of our grant funding and are transferring to reserve for the bridges according to our 10-year capital forecast. We also are paying off the Bridge N55, which we completed early in 2025, but are funding in 2026. We have received the HUSIF, the Housing Enabling Water System Fund, the intake 2. We were successful in that. So there's the road portion as well as the water portion later on, the water and sewer, or sorry, just the water on that one. That is for upgrades to George. There's a couple of roads to try to repair projected leaks in the system and build capacity in the system, as well as work on the well. The water portion of the project is in the water funded from the water users, but there is a road portion that will be funded from the tax base. There is an additional rural kilometers of roads, estimating 2 kilometers on Mulot from concession 6 to concession 8, as well as single surface and double surface treatment, possibly 5 kilometers, again, depending on the pricing that comes through. And we have some Victoria Street and Ayton for surface treatment as well. Bit of sidewalks and storm review. The water system, we're finishing off the South Street project. This is phase 2, which will be the east side of Garrett-Fraxas Street. That is in connection with enhancements for the Rockwood Terrace build, but this is finishing it out on our side. Some fencing at the landfill, continuing some of that project so that it's contained within our property and not flowing onto the neighbors. And we have some estimated amounts for phase 2 and 3 of the environmental assessments for the upper dam. It is anticipated that the Saugeen Valley would get WECI funding for the balance for the other 50%. In recreation, we've got a few transfers to reserves for various projects, replacing some exit doors at the arena in Durham, and Elmwood. They have 2 projects they prioritized as the main door replacement and the ball diamond lighting. And so that's our share that's been incorporated in here. Gateway signage or entry signage, continuing with that project. And for the Elmwood Fire Department, they are budgeting to do an expansion on the back of the building. We'll be using for our share. The board is using some of their reserves, and we've also included a portion from the reserves that West Grey has been setting aside for the Elmwood Fire Department. And there's a bit of a grant that they're hoping to be successful on as well. And that will address some of the decontamination issues by having separate laundry facilities and showers. And the Newstead repairs to the Newstead Library, the balance of those, we're completing the roof this year, and then the balance of those repairs, council was going to complete in 2026. Soffit, fascia, and some interior work. So overall, the capital budget is down by about 6 million when you look year over year, but that in large part is the construction of the new police station, which was an anomaly in our regular budgeting. The funding from the tax levy is up by about $450,000, represents about 2.78% tax levy increase towards capital. And our transfer to reserves is up by about $880,000, in large part because we are banking some of our grant funding for bridge projects. We're doing design work this year. The bridge work will be in 2027, and that was according to our capital schedule that we had planned out. But that's kind of the high level projects.
Thank you, Carrie. We tried to incorporate as much over the year from council onto different projects, and I think the work that we did on addressing our bridge issue certainly is shown in the capital. Of course, Public Works is usually the position as it is this year for, well, maybe not. There's a lot of capital that's going into a police building, but that's one off that we won't see for another 75 years. Hopefully, Chief. Yeah, none of us are going to be around when we rebuild it again. But the Public Works, we've addressed a number of issues there and have back onto, I feel, a good direction. Councillor Hutchison, Doug.
Since we're talking high level, I guess I have a couple of high level questions until we get into the meat and potatoes. But first of all, a little bit confusing. The last line, third last line, it says total 2025 capital budget. Shouldn't that be 2026? Because it compares to 25 below. So, okay. So I found that a little confusing, but just to clarify for people. The other thing over on the right-hand side, we look at other grants. I'm curious where did and maybe explain this, but I missed it, but last year we had grants of 1,600,000, almost 700,000. This year we have grants of 3,204,000. Why is that so much different?
The largest change there is the HUSIF grant, the Housing Enabling Water System Fund grant that we just got announced. So that was an application-based grant, not a regular allotment that we get. So that is the biggest change in the year over year on the grants. It's the HUSIF there's some of it in the water system and some of it on the road system. It's 73% funding of the project.
So the total of the grant was 3.2, about 3.2 million that we were successful on basically redoing the Durham water upgrades, bringing the new well on of that. Okay.
Just a couple of detail ones. So under the Public Works, talking about roads, there's one statement in there, and maybe it's just the way it's worded here, but under Victoria Street 8 and the single double surface treatment may be 5 kilometers, maybe 5 kilometers double. What is that referring to? Somewhere out there, we're going to do 5 kilometers single or double, or is that referring back up to the Victoria Street 8 and job?
No, it's not the Victoria Street 8 and job. We'll do a combination of single surface or double surface treatment, depending on which roads they're looking at. You'd get more single surface, obviously. It's the name says, it's cheaper. But if there's an area that we need to do double surface, so that's where it may be 5 kilometers, it may be less, depending on the mix of which roads. We might do a kilometer of double surface somewhere and then some single surface in other areas. But those are separate from Victoria Street.
Right. And so is that on top of the Mulock Road, 2 kilometers to
Yes,
surface treatment?
yep, that was the additional,
Okay.
there was direction throughout the year to add additional rural road project
Okay.
to the list.
So we don't know what roads we're doing, just leave that up to our road supervisor to determine what. needs
Yeah,
done.
yeah,
Okay.
he usually has a, based on the condition of the roads out there over the winter, he usually has an idea of which roads, but, he kind of assesses that.
Okay. And one other question, and maybe some of these probably are gonna come up maybe later if we get into some details, but the under recreation, the surface treatment, the resurfacer, the Zamboni, we're putting 15,000 in levy into reserve. I'm just sort of curious, we've been talking about reserve, we've been talking about replacing that machine. Where are we in terms of reserve and project? Because I think I saw in there somewhere that Durham's projected in the near future too. So where are we with 8? Our Normandies?
Depending on whether we go with propane or electric is more expensive. There is some more, you're buying the machine, but also then the modifications to the building as well. So we're getting close, but the machine is running very well so far. So we're putting into reserve. If the machine does break, we're not in a bad spot with what we've got in reserve for it. But it'll depend on whether we go propane or electric. The electric will be a little more expensive once all in cost for it, but the machine is running well at this point. So
I think we talked previously when we talked about this, that there is a timeline between when you need it and when you order it and when you get it, sort of thing. So that's something we'll have to keep in mind, especially with electric, because you can't just say, okay, we need one, and that shows up in the door next day. So we have to keep that in mind when it comes to ordering. Okay.
All right, any further comments? Go ahead, Joyce, Councillor Nick.
Well, thank you. I too, I guess, was misunderstood when the Victoria Street surface treatment in the next line. I just kind of thought that was all Victoria Street. But regarding the line with Victoria Street, is that just money allocated just for surface treatment or rehabilitation as well? Up till Classens, I would think. But I always thought that in the urban centers that hot mix was applied, not surface treatment.
there will be a report on November 4th dealing with that project, but this is just budget for surface treatment.
Yeah, but it's in here. Jeff, Councillor Shay, go ahead.
Thank you. I see, I don't know where it was, something about sidewalk replacement, and then there was a note. I guess this is Public Works. Sidewalks, replace existing, not create new sections. Do we have a master plan for sidewalk replacement and creation of new sections? I know we've discussed trying to extend sidewalks in the urban areas.
It was a project that was being started. We'll be continuing with that, but hasn't been completed at this point.
So there is a master plan. Like, I'm wondering, are we going to see a sidewalk to Home Hardware or to the Catholic Church in Durham?
Yeah, part of the review with that will be, is there sidewalks on both sides, like with the engineering standards? Do we need it just on one side? What's the volume of traffic that you're trying to protect everyone from? And so it's all part of that engineering standards that has been started, but hasn't been finished at this point.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. Does that mean we are developing a plan and we will have it sometime the next year?
Thank you and good morning. Yes, with the draft engineering standards will be before staff probably by the end of this calendar year, and we will be reviewing it. What we're trying to get is a matrix for decision making because and avoiding one-off. So what is the assessment? What is the pedestrian count, et cetera? So that should be coming forward to council in 2026 after we've had a chance to review it shortly.
Thank you. So the sidewalks will be addressed in the engineering standards. Engineering, 2E's in engineering. The Upper Dam environmental assessments, part 2 and 3. So I assume that's already started. I assume we've already done part 1. I assume this has been foisted upon us by our friends at the Saugeen Valley. Will part 2 and 3 be the end of that project, or will there be some sort of major capital cost coming out of that assessment?
Yeah, we haven't received formal request from Saugeen Valley at this point, but we are anticipating based on preliminary discussions with their staff. The hope is that after these 2 EAs are done, there will be actionable project that we can move forward. Which will again involve additional capital, but we're hoping that these will provide that action item.
Phase 2 is on the way. Phase 3 is, once you do phase 2, from what I understand, it doesn't really matter what comes out of phase 2 is basically going to tell you, you've got to do phase 3. But to be able to get to phase 3, you've got to do phase 2. Phase 2 is, and apparently the Conservation Authority has their money in that for that. Phase 3 would go ahead next year, but we're dependent on funding, and the Conservation hasn't got funding, hasn't got approval of that WECI funding that they have from the provincial government to go ahead with it. So we are putting it in here in anticipation of that and how conservation is going to continue to operate the dam. But yes, what that will end up being is engineers will come up with this, and this. You'll have option 1, replace the dam for $10 million or do some capital upgrades for $5 million or for $5 million, take the dam out totally. So yeah, it is to come further. It will have budgetary impacts capital wise for the municipality. But then again, defining who is the benefiting municipality and what our benefit is from having that dam in, and who actually should be paying for a dam on a provincial waterway owned by the Conservation Authority. So a lot more to be determined as we go forward.
Okay.
Or federal. Thank you. Yeah.
But next year, we're looking at a multi-million-dollar cost.
Probably not next year, not in 2026, but in 2027. There will be certainly larger discussions on a larger number. Yes.
Thank you. When you say entry signage, is that to the urban areas or to the municipality in general?
Combination of both. We'll see what the pricing comes in at, but they'll be replacing the signs that come into West Grey just outside of, on our borders, but also eventually the urban centers as well. As they start to get tired looking and need to be replaced, those would be addressed as well. But
When they start to get tired looking? I've been thinking that the Durham signs, all 4 of them probably need doing like 3 years ago. Are they going to happen this year?
Should probably get Jamie, since this is his project, but we, as council knows, we also have new branding. So we call the ones we're going to focus on first are the gateway signage. So the entrance to our municipality at the core locations with new branding. We are also applying for rural ROD funding, whatever it's Rural Ontario Development Funding, to extend and leverage those dollars if approved through council today. So that will be stage one. As you move forward over the year, we would like to then get into interpretive signage and directional wayfinding signage within the towns, but we're looking at a tiered approach to signage. Obviously, we can't afford it all in one year, but it will slowly integrate our new branding, and obviously the entryways to all of our sort of centers are the number one priority, because I agree they are tired. And one disappeared recently because of the new construction. We knew it was going, so we have a space to put one.
I wonder if maybe we should just remove the Durham signs until we have funding to put new ones. They are pretty shabby looking.
One of them is gone.
Yeah.
So the other one is there. I would suggest it probably wouldn't happen now till spring anyway, at which time we're hopeful we'll be able to replace them completely.
Could you recap for me again what we're doing vis-a-vis bridges compared to what we've done vis-a-vis bridges in the last 2 years? I know we've really put a emphasis on trying to get ahead of the bridge situation. Are we continuing with that sort of thrust in this budget?
Yes, so this year, for 2026, will be a design year, and we're banking our funding. We've applied a portion of our OSIF funding that we get, the formula base that we get every year. A portion of that has been dedicated within our plan towards bridges, but we need to bank the funding this in the 2026 year. It's banking most of that funding so that the bridge B3 would be completed in 2027. And that was on our, we also had 1% of growth dedicated to our bridge program as well. So that's all been incorporated into the, according to that plan.
So didn't we try to replace a bridge a year over the last couple of years because of the serious deficit we had? I don't remember us doing a staggered design year, build year kind of policy.
Yeah, in the forecast that was at council earlier this year, that's some years we do some small work. In this case, N55, instead of being done in 2026, is being paid in 2026. So it was a small repair, a small rehab, not a full reconstruction. But there is some years where we are designing and maybe doing a small project, but not a full $2 million bridge. We are banking funds in order to move some of those forward. But that is in the forecast, which I think might be on the website, maybe, I think. Everybody, if they misplace the copy.
Yeah, that was through, and that's my understanding of that policy that we did on the bridge redevelopment. That yes, it wouldn't be last year because we were doing a brand new bridge in Gunnell and doing a deck on the down on the 16th, and the company themselves said the other deck that we needed to do at Hamden, Side Road 10, Side Road 15 in Normandy, 20. Oh, just keep going. I know it was somewhere in about there. Yeah. I am down in behind Gary Becker's there, so I'll leave it at that. Not necessarily the number, but Side Road 20, and to Marshall and began to pull out. That's why we ended up doing that one and putting it in. It was financially would have been careless not to take advantage of that with the two bridges right there and having to do the decking on them. So in 2026, that was the one that was to be redecked and redone and maintained. That's why we won't see it in 2026 as to a huge amount of bridge work, but it'll be behind the scenes with all that design and that funding formula that the finance department, in correlation with the public works, that'll allow us over the next 10 years to absolutely be replacing, I think it's 6 bridges and decks on probably at least another 6 to probably not catch up, but not have the deficit get any further ahead of us. And and a lot of it comes down to the financing portion and what the property taxpayers can sustain and withhold going forward. So that's in the policy that we approved back March, was it? I was going to say April, but yeah, back in March. And that's laid out over the next 10 years. And beyond. I think it's definitely a great way, because over 10 years, we're not going to catch up totally of 119 bridges. As 1 or 2 come off, 1 or 2 are going to come on. So we've got that in place. Michelle?
Thank you. And I just want to reiterate that once council approved that capital plan for bridges, the bridge prioritization, that has been embedded in the broader capital forecast in this budgeting process. And for anybody who is interested, we do have on the website, right on the homepage, a projects page. And if you click on that button, we have individual projects. So we reference in there N55 and 56 bridges. So you can see the status of those projects. And as we move forward, we will continue to update any projects that we have ongoing. So I encourage the public, if they're interested on the status of some of these things, to have a look at that page.
At the bottom of the capital budget page report, it indicates under levy a change from roughly 2.5 million to roughly 3 million, a change of $450,000. And then it indicates that that's a 18% increase. But then in the text below that, it says the increase in levy contribution is 2.78. So how is it not 17?
So when you look at the increase in the tax levy, if you do the math, the 2.9 is almost 18% higher from the tax levy. But the actual, 1% of a tax levy is about $163,000. So 452,000 is 2.78% on the tax levy. If you were looking at, how much of that 3.7% tax levy increase for this budget, 2.78% is that $452,000.
Okay, I think I get the gist of it. It doesn't quite compute, but you're looking at it from two different lenses.
Two different things. The year-over-year increase is 18%. When you look at 2.9 versus 2.5 million, but on the property tax levy, 163,000 goes into 452, and that's going to be 2.78%. So that's
okay.
From the property tax support. That's what the people will feel.
Okay, I think I get it now. Thank you. And we sort of flew by the operating before I had a chance to put up my hand. Are we done with operating, or can I still ask about that?
Yeah. I didn't turn on. Well, I did ask if there was any questions on that, and I didn't see any hands. So, but being as a budget and it's a progression, if there are no other questions on the capital, then we can go back to that. Yes, I want this council to be very supportive and understanding of what the most important part of our duties on a yearly basis is probably this right here, so. If there is no other questions on the capital portion of it. If I continue to look this way, I don't find any.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we've got one. Go ahead, Doug. Councillor Hutchison.
Well, before we jump away from capital, what about the 2026 budget items considered but not included? What about that whole list that we left off the budget? Is that under capital or is that embedded somewhere else that we're going to come back to? Because I think it's worth having discussion on some of these items that we didn't put in the budget. And do we want them in the budget? Like, so.
Well, I can say it's my budget. No, I didn't want them in the budget, so that's why I left them. I guess it is capital, and yes, we probably should go back to it, but going through it, the pedestrian, Garrett and Sadler, the crossing, we have a crossing guard there. Both of those we're looking more at, okay, to recognize what do we have there, what have we got, and before jumping in and trying to put crossing signalization there, I think we need to take a better look at that and be able to deal with, because it is on a provincial highway, what those effects come in. That's why that was left out of there. Portable speed signs, but anyways, go ahead. Yeah.
So we take it one at a time here. So, yeah, when we discussed that, I believe we left it with staff that they were going to look into it further, find out about the whole deal of, it's a provincial highway. How do we go about putting up signage or whatever? I'm not sure what the $200,000 cost is. Like, is that to do the whole thing, to put the signage and the light and whatever we need to put there? Because I thought there was going to be more information, and maybe that's where the next line talks about pedestrian crossing study, Gara and Jackson. Is that part of that thing? So we're looking for the study that will say, this is what we need, this is what it's going to cost. This is the traffic numbers, pedestrian traffic. Like, there's two different things there. So I still like to see us go ahead with something there because I do think it's an accident waiting to happen, that whole crossing. So yeah, can someone maybe comment on that? Is that part of the same thing? The first two lines there?
No, the one would be with the signalization or the crossing. Quite frankly, I am on a personal basis not convinced that having that's there, for the simple reason that we have crossing guards there. What is the solution? Because we hear from the crossing guards and some of the individuals that, we have problems with people stopping for a crossing guard standing there with a stop sign. If it's a light that's up here, are we improving for $200,000 improving it? No, I think we need to do a little bit more study on what is the issue there. Having staff look at that, the pedestrian crossing, and then it comes in, we're doing a study at the top of the hill. I think we can redo our crossing guards, and instead of doing an $18,000 study, put it into place, redeploy our crossing guards to address the issue at the top of the hill. We're coming up. That's the hammer coming down. So yeah, it definitely will be looked at and it'll be addressed, but not with what had been thrown out 8-10 months ago. True.
Well, I don't know. I still think we need to do something. And what that cost is, I don't know, but I thought when we were talking about this pedestrian crossing study that we were doing both. We were going to look at the top of the hill. We're going to look at Sadler Street. And eventually I think we're even going to have to look at South Street because of the amount of traffic in around Timmy's and the new road that's going to be there. I do think we need to look at where the pedestrian traffic is. I understand when you're talking about crossing guards, but crossing guards are really only there for when the kids cross. And there's a lot of, maybe the chief can verify what I'm saying, but there's a lot of other people that cross there and people on scooters and whatnot, and they come to that sidewalk. And then some of the people drive and look at it and think, should I stop? Like there's a line there. It says, looks like it's a crosswalk and this guy's waiting. Should I stop? And then one guy stops, the other guy doesn't stop, and then it becomes a whole mess. So I think we need to do something about it. And that's why I'd like to see this study that looks at it. And if we have to put $20,000 into a study, let's put $20,000 into it and move forward rather than just saying, we don't think really need it at this time. I think we do need it, need something. I don't know what that is for sure, but we need something.
Sure.
So.
The 2025 budget, this year's budget included the study for the Garifax and Sadler crossing. So this would be to install a crossing. The estimated cost is 200,000, but the study was part of the 2025 budget for that corner. Year's budget, we had originally the 2025 budget for include both Garifax and Jackson and Garifax and Sadler, and council decreased the budget to do the Garifax to Sadler corner only to complete the study. So that's been done.
Have we seen that study?
I haven't, but the Public Works, if it hasn't been released yet, they should have it soon.
So I'd like to see the study so that we can say, that includes a light. What does that include? Like, is that talk about a light like they have in Arthur and Mount Forest and similar things? They have a light, they have markings on the street and it's a pedestrian crossing and it's on a provincial highway. So I'd like to see the study so that we can make a informed decision of whether we want to go ahead with it or not, before we just take it out.
The estimated cost is to put in similar to those, like, was it Arthur that had one installed that's on the highway? It's different than if you were on a county road or on one of our side streets. But because it's on the highway, we have to do certain things. So that's based on a similar one that you would have seen go in recently across Highway 6 in other municipalities. That would be the full, because the cost was, he got that from one of those municipalities with what they spent on installing that.
Go ahead.
To this
Councillor
point,
Shay.
at last year at Roma, the minister did inform us that we had been approved for having a crosswalk on Highway 6. But to Councillor Hutchinson's point, could we get that study and bring this question up again at our November 12th budget meeting?
Thank you. We will check into it. I'm not sure if the engineering study will be complete at that time, but if it is, we can certainly bring it back in a timely manner, but I'm just not quite sure if it's complete yet. Part of the reason why this number is in there or was put forward for consideration was based on the discussion. So we have I'm going to say a placeholder and then can have subsequent further discussions on the merits of the project itself. At that time, we're kind of the chicken and the egg right now. We heard clearly from council that this was something you wanted considered, which is why it's on that list, but we haven't got quite all the work done yet on that study.
Okay. Anything else?
So can we revisit this item on our November 12th budget study or no study? Is somebody creating an agenda for the November 12th meeting, Jamie?
Mr. Mayor, to members of council, we do have the budget meeting scheduled for November 12th. So I think regardless of anything that happens right now, we do intend to come back on November 12th. This content, much like everything else on this agenda, will be on that agenda for council's consideration as just one final review before the end of this 30-day review period. So you will see on the November 12th agenda, this list of 2026 budget items considered but not included. So whether we have this study or not, we can't say at this point in time, but this document will still be there. So council could add the $200,000 in for that crossing on November 12th, should they choose to.
Okay. Anything further on there? Go ahead, Doug.
Well, I'm curious about the Durham flood plan mapping, 50% cost. So we know that we have an issue with flooding in our downtown town. I presume this has to do with the creek that runs through the town. I know
No.
we've done some, no, that's not that one.
No,
That's flood plan mapping. Okay, so it does include the creek.
so this floodplain mapping, from what I understand, is a description from down at Camp Creek at the south end. Correct on that, Carl? Yeah. Let Carl speak to it.
Yeah, the mapping would be for basically everything south of the co-op. It's Camp Creek. It's the camp that goes crosses Highway 6 just south of town. So basically mapping for everything south of the co-op.
So there's been a lot of work down in that area because of the industrial park and the upgrades and whatnot. So there was no mapping before. This is an improving of the mapping or changing the mapping. How does that fit into what's been happening down there?
Through you, Mayor. So yeah, 2 years ago, the mapping was done for part of the Saugeen River and Durham Creek. It didn't extend south of the co-op. That wasn't done as part of that project. The mapping south of the co-op in that industrial park area was not, it was basically the SVCA and the municipality had some discussions and agreed that that would be classified as a flood fringe. There's two designations in the municipality, flood fringe and floodway. Floodway is no construction permitted at all. So the flood fringe is permitted construction with engineering and review by SVCA. So that SVCA agreed after the municipality persuaded them a little bit to allow that area to be designated as a flood fringe. Part of that discussion was that they said the mapping should be done because they agreed that it would be a flood fringe from the Durham Creek and Saugeen River, but they weren't sure on how that Camp Creek would affect the flooding if that creek also flooded at the same time as Durham Creek. So it was if they decide, the potential is that they could just keep the flood fringe the way it is, but they could change it to a floodway, which would remove all potential construction until the mapping is done. It's completely SVCA's decision. But right now they're considering it a flood fringe, which is good for construction with a little bit of engineering, but we don't know what their potential would be in the future.
Further, Jeff, go ahead.
So now that we've turned to this page in our agenda, the portable speed signs, I thought our Public Works Director told us that the existing signs were reaching the end of their life. So I believe some are non-functional as we speak, and that new signs were going to be acquired that also recorded speed limits or speed levels that would help us gauge the effectiveness of these signs, the effectiveness of our speed limits in general. My own experience with the portable speed signs, the ones that flash your speed at you, is that they're tremendously effective. You know, I drive through those things going faster than I should. And I'm reminded that I'm driving into a town and need to slow down. You know, the road doesn't narrow. It's still a very inviting road. There's nothing really to indicate that you need to slow down except for the fact that you're now driving by lawns instead of by farms. And those signs really encourage me to slow down. I assume they encourage most drivers to slow down. So I'd hate to see us sort of lose our capability in the speed sign business. I wouldn't mind reintroducing this item to the budget if I have understood this correctly. Maybe you're talking about a different type of speed sign and I'm way off base, but if I'm correct, I'd like to make a motion that we reintroduce the speed sign replacements to the budget.
Staff want to make a comment as to why they're in there?
Yeah, 3 years. So the speed signs that they were proposing there are higher, more advanced speed signs than it is a sign that would be on the side of the road, but it would also record the speed and things so that it could be reviewed, the data could be reviewed at a later date.
Anything?
Making that a motion?
Yeah, I guess we could. Can we do that, Danny? Yep. All right, making a motion that we put that back in. All right. And anybody want to second that? Tom? Okay. Well, it's duly moved and seconded that the speed sign 27.5 go back in. Discussion. Tom, I'll start with you and then go to Joyce.
Thank you. So just for clarity, then we're talking about portable. We're not talking about the ones that would be fastened or stationary to the post. This is the one that's a mobile unit to go around. So we're not talking about like 8 and the one that's not down in 8 because it's expired, if you will. I just want to have clarity. Okay, thank you.
All right, Joyce?
Actually, I was going to ask the same question, so it's been answered.
Very good. The deployment of such a sign that we had one a number of years ago. Can somebody tell me where it is? Yeah.
I'll play the new card here. I don't know. I will,
yeah.
I will find out.
That's the biggest reason that I didn't put it in, because I already had one that had all of that. And it was limited in the amount that we got out of it, quite frankly. And one of the things that, yeah, it just showed one way, but what it also showed was it was a great way for individuals, even as the signs that are coming into some of our urban areas, it was more exploited by individuals that wanted to see just exactly whether their speedometer was in connection with the sign. Because the old one we had, I know we had it on a paved road in a rural area, and my experience was that in a 20-minute period, the speed was from in an 80-kilometer zone. In a 20-minute period, I believe there was 7 that escalated, and the top one went by at 155. Noting, and it wasn't fire department going to anything either, Chief. How they're used and the beneficial portion of it. Quite frankly, I think that if we want to, it's through enforcement, not through some flashing signs. If we were going to put one in, I would suggest that we put one in that takes a picture of the license plate, but apparently Doug Ford doesn't like that idea right at the present moment. So We're not in a position to do that. It's enforcement that's going to slow us down. To your point, Councillor Shea, yeah, and I do it too. We will slow down. Law abiding, we will slow down. What we're trying to do is get the individuals that won't slow down to slow down. And putting a flashing sign up, in my mind, is not going to do that. It will tell us that they're out there, but it won't tell us that, or make it that it'll be a safer road. Joyce?
I hope I'm not getting off topic, but I did like the permanent speed signs coming into the urban centers, but they were all on county roads. I was wondering perhaps if the mayor, the deputy mayor could inquire with the county of Gray if they were going to incorporate any more of these speed signs on those roads into our urban centers.
That I'm not 100% sure of. Your question is somewhat timely, as we have a budget and finance meeting at the county tomorrow. Well, it was something I can find out for you. Tom, and then I'll go back to Doug.
Just to follow up with Councillor Noon, but my understanding is one going into Eaton in particular, which is County Road 3 there, that was us, that one there. So it's, anyway, just want clarity on that, but okay, the mayor's on that budget committee. So I guess my question is, I second this to get it obviously on the floor, but we have this existing portable unit. I believe I had seen it at the town sheds down at Towner, but we don't know the status of it. Is it functional, or like why? I don't see buying one if we got one sitting there and we don't know the condition of it, or can it be salvaged if it's got some issues? Why buy another one if we have that? And we don't know the answer to that, obviously. And I think I seen it there a few years ago when I was putting a trailer in for a parade or whatever, maybe why I was there. But I think it would be the parade end, but I'm positive that's where I'd seen it.
I think it has a lot to do with the technology, the computer and whatnot that you need to have into it. And even that got vandalized a couple of times when we had that piece of equipment out there. Yeah, the technology got stolen out of it. Follow up, go ahead.
So my follow-up then is, we do have the ones that are stationary, and we've got a couple that are dysfunctional. Like, what's the value on those versus this portable unit? Because we had them strategically placed. And I know there's ones that we have, Newstead, both sides, I know that, Eaton, the one's not operational, it's not there, it hasn't been there. And I know that they're in Durham. What would be the price on that instead of, well, one, should we look at the technology on the one that's currently owned? Can the computer motherboard be changed? 1, 2 is how much are these stationary ones versus this? If you're a lot cheaper or more economical, I'd rather go the other way. So again, I second this to get it on the floor so we can have discussion. Thank you.
Councillor Hutchison, Doug.
Yeah, I'm not sure with the portable one, but I do think that these speed signs are important. The new technology now, these speed signs can give you the traffic that goes on the street, the speed of the cars going in there. It doesn't actually identify individual cars because that's illegal apparently, but it does give a lot of data that the police could use to say, okay, it looks like we need to pick up some enforcement here because there's a lot of traffic and there's a lot of speeding on this road. So I think in the future, we need to update our signs to get more technology on these signs so that bring them up to speed, because a lot of them are older, but they can be a valuable tool, especially for enforcement in some of these areas. Whether we get a new portable speed sign someday that has that data a capability, maybe that's something we do look forward. I presume the older sign we have wouldn't have that because the technology changed so much over the years. But I think it's going forward. I think it's important, but maybe we don't worry about it right now until we get some more details.
Any other comments? Got it on the floor. Yeah. Last time.
I thought our public works director made a recommendation to us a couple of months ago that we needed to upgrade our speed signs because they were at the end of their life. And, you know, maybe this portable one is not the way to go. Maybe we need to just replace the ones that are aging out. So if this portable one is not as effective as the stationary ones, then I'd be prepared to withdraw the motion and have a further discussion about whether we should be budgeting to replace the stationary speed signs at our November 12th meeting. Yeah.
Okay, good. I will accept that. If the mover wants to withdraw the motion. And yeah, we'll do further study on, is it in the public works budget to basically maintenance on those signs more than it is. And I'm not sure whether it's in the sign that the problem is or the battery that's being charged by the solar. I'm not 100%. Yeah, that's way above my to get into the technicalities of fixing, but it should be in the maintenance of those signs. Tom, I'll do that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And further to that, Councillor Shay, they're not all expiring at the same time, which is good. So it's better, we could do them in stages. The one down there, it's defunct. That's the only one that's out of, it's not operational. So we find maybe we're only doing 1 or 2 at a time. And then every year keep enhancing. So just to that point, I just want to make reference to that. I think there's only one that's not operational now.
All right. I'll just make a comment on the landfill trench covers. With the changeover that's happening with in our landfill contract that we have coming forward from Waste Management. I'll name the company to handle garbage. There will not be as much garbage going into our landfills. So having these trench covers is very much redundant in my mind. Yes, landfills will be open still for access, public access on Wednesdays and Saturdays or on set days within the community. And they were more for the Bentic landfill, but they were also there for our pickup days that company was using to cover. And with that change that's coming in July, they're not required. So we didn't know that. Staff wasn't aware of what that was going to happen and how that was going to work when they put together theirs, and we got the contract back from Waste Management, which will take place at the end of June in 2026. Doug?
So what are you telling us, that we're not going to be bearing our own garbage? That the new contract's going to take it somewhere else? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. No, it won't be. It'll be to their site that they have. Yes. Even garbage disposable cover is changing dramatically as we move forward. Gary?
Yeah, we did do a request for expression of interest, so that report will be coming back. We had, yeah.
Okay. That all for there? We'll look at, go ahead, Jeff.
So if we're done with capital, I was going to go back to operating briefly.
Good. All right.
So,
Yep.
okay.
I think if that's it for capital, we look forward. Okay,
So
go ahead.
the last item is prior year deficit offset. And it's 484,000. I was wondering what that is.
Well, my friend, would be a legal challenge to, Ministry of Health, a certain hospital fight that we had. It was successful as our hospital is still open.
Why is it called prior year deficit offset?
Well, because it was in 2025, so we have to
Oh, we're
finance it
paying,
somehow.
okay.
Because that wasn't in the 2025.
Yes,
budget.
sorry. Yeah, I think the mayor's, so we hadn't budgeted to fund that legal, so it was a deficit that we had carried forward. At the end of the year, any surplus or deficit, that deficits need to be funded in the following year. So in 2025, we had that legal battle that had carried over and needed to be funded in 2025. That was a 2025 item.
And I see, just looking down the year over year total levy change, that's comparing this projected budget to the current year, that admin is down. Curious why, how we pulled that off.
So that is mostly sort of the change from the expected borrowing costs for the police station. We were doing construction for 2025, and then in 2026, it's sort of that change in the flow of having that. We had built up some of our borrowing capacity, so that's in there, but we don't have the transfer to capital for the police station that we had. So it's kind of a shift between those. That was one of the items, and then the legal. We had some legal in there as well.
Okay, all right. Okay. Any other questions? Then we're good. So November the 12th.
No, it's over. I'm a little.
Councillor Hutchison, Doug, go ahead.
So we have these reports called the department details, which when you look them over, there's a few questions come up. But I'm sort of curious, we have some individuals in our audience here that are here to present. So are we going to them to listen to their presentation about the budget?
Well, I think we've already gone through that once, in preparation and whatnot. We've had fire chief in, police chief was in, library was in, and presented the budget or their ideas on the budget and whatnot to council. I don't, unless there's something very specific that we have in there, I'm almost positive that the chair and the library CEO were just here for interest more than they were of making any presentations, as they've already done. And our internal staff have done as well too.
Well, I do have some questions then.
Go ahead.
Let's see, let's look at here. Okay, so I guess I'll ask them to pick the individuals here to say, I'll find them.
I was going to say, is there anybody else?
Yeah, go
I'm going to
ahead.
suggest
Go
this
ahead.
might be the I know that the CEO doesn't like this, but you know, next time, write it down on a piece of paper and you've got it. I'll get back to you, Doug. Go ahead, Jeff.
Small one, Carrie, council of election expenses, $50,000 more than last year. Don't we put in a regular amount in every year? It averages out.
Yeah, so you'll see also up above in there, a transfer from reserve of 37,500. So that's offsetting the $50,000 election expense. Normally we'd be transferring 12,500 into reserve every year. So the net cost is still just that 12,500. It's just, we're gonna have the full expense and fund it partially from the reserve.
Good question. Doug, back to you.
I found a question for our fire chief. This is this is fire station number 2, Durham. Sort of curious, Durham fire highway revenue. So in 24, we had $7,500, 25, we have $7,500. But this year, we're projecting only $3,500 in our fire highway revenue. I'm sort of curious why that would go down. Is it some kind of projection, or how does that? And then we're going back up next year to 27 or 2027, going back up to 7,500. What is all involved in that, and why does it go down?
Go ahead, Phil.
There's no items. Okay, so it's only an estimate of what we might take in when we invoice out for a car accident. Why it's that low, I'm not sure. I don't know if I maybe put the wrong figure in the wrong line. I'm glad you picked up on that. But yeah, that's it. I can't predict how many car accidents we're gonna have. And that's the highway revenue that comes in. It could be for out on municipal roads too, because we invoice for that. I was sort of curious about maybe it had some kind of magic ball or something. Maybe you're predicting that it's going to go down rather than up. The other question I had was under Durham Fire loan principal and Durham Fire loan interest. It's 22,000, and it's, let me see the categories here. It's budget change. Revolves around $22,000 and $35,000 that wasn't in the budget before. And maybe our director of finance can explain that. I'm not sure what that's all about.
Yes, we bought a truck in 2025, but we need to finance a portion of it. So we're paying back. It's the loan payments on the truck that arrived this year.
So we purchase trucks all the time, whatnot. So there was no loans before that we were paying. We had everything paid off, sort of thing, have we? And now we have a new loan.
There was in was it Ayton or Newstead? Newstead was it is paid off, all the other 2 trucks. So now the Durham truck is the only one that we have a loan out for. The others were paid off. It's just shifting the loan payback between the fire departments, but currently just the one truck.
Probably explains why in 2025 we have a budget of 861,000 compared to the 2026 budget of 139,000. So presume that involves maybe another truck or something in there that threw that figure way out in terms of capital expenditures.
Yeah, I think we had 700 and change in there for the truck, I think, or something, I think like that in 2025.
Okay, good. Thank you. Just let me check my police one here. Fine.
Can I take Councillor Noon while
Sure, go ahead.
you
I'm
research
looking
this
for my next
slightly
question.
further?
Yeah.
Okay, Joyce.
Thank you. I'm not sure what's happening with our waste management, like what our new contract looks like or anything, but Do you feel comfortable, like you've got 50,000 in budgeted for bag tag sales? We have 6 months of a tag system in place still, but do you think people aren't going to be very conservative as to buying any because it's going to stop at the end of June? So I was just wondering, is that amount maybe realistic?
Are you thinking too high or too low? When we changed the fees, people did purchase some bag tags, but looking at prior years, it's hard to say whether people at the start of the year buy for the full year when they run out. But we are promoting that they are non-refundable. So should our contract change and bag tags no longer be a thing as of July 1st, that they would purchase accordingly. But based on the amount that we sell in a typical year, we were comfortable with the 50, but time will tell.
So in saying that, you're going to start a media release soon about what's coming up, that bag tags, won't be required, so that people are well aware, like you said, they're non-refundable.
I'll get rid of.
That report from our expression of interest for waste management has yet to come back to council, so there has been no decision made at this point. But we are, it does note it on our website that bag tags are non-refundable. But once decisions made on the contract, then we will have information, communications out to the public. But that is a report that has yet to come back to council. It's in the works.
And I was comfortable in the budget of putting that in there. Yeah, with some of the knowledge of where we might be going. How you doing down there? It's lonely, Doug. You look lonely. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, so that brings up the question of the whole bag tags and cost to, I believe I don't have it in front of me, but the decrease in amount of money that we take in through the bag tags to cover our costs are now going to have to come from somewhere else. So because we don't have that, so looks like a cost of our garbage pickup is going to go up, and yet we're taking in less money because of our not using garbage bag tags. So suggestions of how that's all going to work out?
It'll be paid across the board by the general levy on picking it up. Definitely a change, but there will be some of the change will be offset by less usage or less experience at our own landfill. But it'll be carried by the levy at this time. And yes, we will be seeing on our garbage disposal, pickup and whatnot, a definite levy increase.
Obviously, that's built into our budget now, sort of thing, right? What's there?
It will be
Small amount.
a half a year is our best estimate of where we will be going. And we'll feel the full impact and or example of what it's going to be in 2027 moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I get to see in the 2025 budget was 150,000 and we're projecting 50,000. So we're going down 100,000, which is a big drop, but
Yes.
So that's a concern.
And that 50 will be gone probably in 2027 if council goes with the proposal that has come forward. The one proposal that we have forward.
All right. Also, there's curious with the landfill Normanby under landfill Durham materials supplies. It went, we've been 20,000 35,000 last year, and now we're 80. Why are we, what's the big jump in material supplies in the Normanville landfill? That would have doubled. That is, must be something different we're doing there. This is, sorry, that's not Normanby. This is, wrong category. This is under, just general landfill, I guess. Landfill. I don't know. Which also brings to mind the whole idea of we're gonna have to buy bins for our garbage pickup, right? If we go that route, I guess that's gonna come out in this other report. So that's gonna be a cost to somebody down the road too. So I guess that's another factor that we'll have to figure in. Like it comes
Well,
to-
yeah, that will be addressed in the report coming up and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then there has been projection of some of that built in here as well too.
I'm not sure what's gonna be our cost or their cost sort of thing to get those bins out.
Going forward, it's always our cost. So your first question was around the 80,000.
Mhm.
I can see Carrie looking for it. I don't have it up here at this point in time. Yeah. Just wait for staff to get this one in. Get the job. It's under landfill warranty, but then it said landfill Durham tourist supplies.
I think, the materials and supplies should be down, there's a portion of it that should be down in, the debris pickup, 2056, Durham landfill. That's for the bins picked up there. So it got added in the budget line on materials and supplies, but should be down, that change should be down, in the debris pickup for those. The other materials and supplies, is, what are the types of stuff that are in there? Safety, yeah. Where is it? See, 2024. Yeah. Yeah, 2024 is actual in materials and supplies. We're just over just under $22,000. But the debris pickup line is in there as well. So we could put that to the 35, but it needs to move down to the debris pickup line for the bins that will collect it as the transfer station at the landfill. It all got included in the materials and supplies budget line. And there's a 0 in the debris pickup line. So the difference should be down in there.
But we don't do any pickup in Normanby anymore, right?
It's
So all-
Durham landfill.
Oh, it's Durham. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
the title, where it says landfill Normanby, that's for the total cost in the bold line. Then those are Durham landfill expenses that you're looking at. It says landfill Durham, materials and supplies, and the landfill Durham debris pickup. I just need to change the split between those two. because we do use Durham as a transfer station, so the bins will still be collected there. That's where the majority of that expense should go down.
Yep, okay, then I'll be back to you, Doug.
So under, sort of jumping around here a little bit, but under the public works, roads, gravel pits, I'm curious why our revenue for gravel pits is going down. It's been 142,000 last couple of years, and then this year it's predicted to be 100. It's down 42,000. That's for, I presume, our gravel pit that we own. But we don't sell outright, so we just use it for ourselves, right? Just curious why that's gone down.
Carrie's shaking her head. I'm gonna let,
So that is our torque fee revenue from gravel extracted within the municipality at any pits. We get, I don't know if it used to be 6 cents per, it's gone up. But that's, so it's based on the extraction in all of West Gray, not at our pits necessarily. If we extract some, we pay that fee. But also every other gravel pit pays that. So we get a portion, we call it torque fees. So that's what that is. And based on the average we've received the last 5 years, it has gone down compared to what it was. So we're just trying to be reflective of what we actually might be receiving. You never know because it's based on what's reported on those fees in the prior year, and we don't have that information because it's not just our pit of extraction, it's every pit.
and that will be collected, is collected by basically the province. Yes, there has been some concern of the reporting of how much gravel actually does leave the pit and goes across the scale and is reported, and the torque fees are paid for that. But I think this is a reflection, and probably a reflection in the economy itself, as to the torque fees that will be coming back to us. Anything further, Doug?
Our library people here, I do have a question on the library. Curious, under internet, that Newstead pays $950, Ayton pays $950, and Durham pays $6,500 for internet. That seems like a lot of money just for internet. So curious why that amount is so high for internet. Would someone like to?
Just since Kim's not on a mic, the Durham branch, the cost for the loaned out internet sticks comes out of that, the main branch. So that's, I don't know how many we have, 6. So there's the cost for the internet in the building, but then also the actual internet sticks that are loaned out to the public in that one.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Councillor Noon. Joyce?
Okay, I'm back under the landfill revenues, and I didn't even pick up on it, but in 2025, we also didn't collect any revenues for hazardous waste rebates. Is it because we're running our own hazardous waste now that's kind of out of the equation? Like, why aren't we still getting, I would think, more money because we're running it more efficiently and stuff? I thought that would have continued as a revenue for West Gray.
I think the hazardous waste revenues were significantly overestimated on what they would be. We have never reached that target. In 2024, we got $1,072. 2025 is similar to that. It's not significant revenues that we receive for those.
All right, Doug. Further.
Found another one. So under, Lamlas Glenelg Hall, revenue for Glenelg Hall was $150. That has been for the last 2 or 3 years. The expenses are $9,000, almost $9,000 between utilities, maintenance, insurance, and so on. So I guess somewhere along the line, we've had this discussion before, but somewhere along the line, we need to make a decision of some of these buildings. And maybe that'll come out to our asset management plan and whatnot, but it seems like maybe that's a hall that we don't need anymore.
We will look at all of the halls in the recreation master plan, which is part of the budget. We will be looking at usage of the facilities, revenues, the condition of the facilities, but all of that. So that'll be all of the actual halls, parks, all of that recreation piece.
One more. One more.
One more? Thought you were here to discuss budget. $5,000 under trails, I see in the, Elizabeth Parks, maybe, West Gray Parks. I do see we have $5,000 under trails. I presume maybe that's grass cutting. I'm not sure why we're spending money on trails if we don't really have trails, but I do believe they do cut the grass, so maybe that's what that is. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it could be depending on what the condition of the trails, the pathways that we have, if we need to cut the grass, if there's some stone dust, if there's signage, we've got gates that we've put up, if those need repairs. Again, the trails will be part of the recreation master plan. So if there's any actionable items that come out of that as well.
Because there certainly is a trail, basically from Heritage Park, or not from the Heritage Park, but from, I'll call it the Credit Union Park, down to Douglas Street, that we do maintain and look after. And there is another one in Newstead from basically the bridge up into the Lions Park as well too, that we look after. So those are trails that are under ours.
Yeah. Yeah. Tree trimming and things like
Yeah.
that as well.
Yeah. To look after those pathways. All right. You say roof and I say rough. Anything else, Doug?
Any questions, I'll take them to the department and ask them, I guess.
Okay. All right. Well, I thank everyone for their comments. There was one that was up, and I think that was towards you, Chief Schwartz. The 7,500 down to 3,500. Is that, do you feel that that's the right number, the wrong?
You can boost it up, I guess. I do know this year there's a stick number.
Can you use your mic? Can you use your mic?
Yeah, you can boost that up. If you want. It's, we did lose revenue this year. Can't get the information from the OPP anymore, but we applied to the province, to MTO. And, I know 3 of the accidents came back. No incident found. Checked the LP numbers, which is the OPP incident number, and they match up with what they sent back. So where those reports went, I have no idea. And those accidents likely totaled close to $8,000 between the 3 of them. I did drop it down because the revenue had dropped. So.
That one I'll leave between you and Carrie where you feel comfortable. You know, if that is someplace we're a little out, I'd like to have just to address that. Okay. Thank you for your input, everyone, and some of the thoughts that are in that. There's no other questions. It has been difficult to get this down, but appreciate the help again from staff of helping me get it to where I feel comfortable, and after the discussion today, where council feels comfortable. Michelle?
Thank you. And if I may, if any council members have any specific, like if you get into the deep dive into the line items, it would be helpful if you would be good enough to send those through to Carrie ahead of time so that we can make sure we've got the information readily available for the November 12th meeting. I'm happy if you want to bring them up in front of in this forum, but it's just helpful. I think it'll be more efficient if we can dig in and make sure we have all the background information that you need.
Thank you, Michelle. If there is nothing else, then again, thank you very much, Carrie, for the help and for all of staff working collaboratively to get this together. Then we're down to bylaws. Council meeting, we have one bylaw to confirm the actions taken. Do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Forrester, seconder. Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Thank you, Scott. Tom? Any comments on the confirming bylaw? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. With all business on the agenda completed, I'll state that the meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.